Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, coming again today, you're very, very welcome. How great to see everybody back. As you can see, if you've been following the last couple of videos, that the bookshelf is kind of back. It's now a nice white colour, which is kind of just add a bit of freshness to the room. But we've got to put a coat of protective varnish on it, yeah. So no book's back at this point. But pretty exciting. It's really changed the room up, I must say. I trust you enjoyed my last video from Jason Upton. And through that video, we looked at Never Alone and how that's absolutely possible. So I trust you found that one encouraging. Well, going from there to one of my absolute heroes. If I could have 3 people for dinner, this guy would be one of them. His story started in 1947 in Birmingham, UK. He got bought an acoustic guitar for £2. And it's been quoted that since 2012, up to about 2012, he's been playing that acoustic guitar as live shows. And there's been many of those to many people. But to start off this guy's story, you probably need to go to 2015 and an album that was released, Much the Joy of the World, Alone in the Universe, and the song is When I Was a Boy. And here you will see what this guy's sort of passions when it comes to music. He just wanted to bring music to the world, and this guy absolutely has. So I've got a live and official version of When I Was a Boy. The guy we're talking about is Jeff Lynne. Now Jeff, Electric Light Orchestra, Travelling Wilburys producer. ELO have estimated it was sold around 50 million albums worldwide. So this guy's just one of these very well loved, extremely talented, extremely just has a lot of musical ideas, and he wasn't scared to dream big, as we'll discover as we go through. There are a few videos below today because you know what, it's Jeff Lynne, so what can we say? It was in the early 1960s that he bought his first recording equipment, and that would very much inform him about multi-layering, 4-track recording, all the rest of the stuff that his albums coming after him would absolutely need. And so it was more than just music for Jeff. In fact, Jeff never has really enjoyed playing live, even though people love it when he does. His home is the studio, and that's when he can really tweak and change and tweak the edges and just get an absolutely amazing sound. But Jeff's music career started with the Idle Race and in the early 1960s. And of course, what else was happening in the 60s? The Beatles. Certainly in the late 1960s, they were going more studio, not as much performing because it was just getting too hard for them. The Beatles absolutely inspired Jeff big time, and Jeff is sort of almost known as the 5th Beatle. And then from Idle Race, there were 3 albums there. They then moved to the Move with the mate of the time, Roy Wood. And between 1967 and 72, there were 4 albums. It's a classic case of the world wasn't, but they thought, well, actually the Beatles are just finished, and what are we going to do? How we can continue their legacy? Hey, no, let's put rock and strings together, and so we created Electric Light Orchestra. But before we go on to that, we'll go back to a live clip of Tonight by the Move. And the drummer here, you've got Jeff in purple. You've also got drummer Bevan, who had a lot to do with ELO. And he was pretty much the drummer all the way through the ELO's career. But it got to 1970, and Roy and Jeff got together, and probably Bevan said, hey, what are we going to do? Let's kind of continue on the Beatles' legacy. Where do you think they were going? Well, Long and Winding Road had a lot of strings in it. Perhaps we could do something with that one. And so ELO was formed. Now, ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, Roy wasn't in the group for that long. He went off to start a band, Wizard, but he was there for the first album. And of course, we have 10583 Overture, which was a very significant song, not just for ELO, but for the world. But if you go to EMI playlist, we've already done 13 videos on ELO, so we don't need to go back and recount all of that. But just a few highlights through the Jeff Lynne career. There were 12 studio albums from 1971 to 1986, and then Jeff kind of caught it at that point, but it kind of slipped under the radar a little bit. In 2001, came the album Zoom. He tried to get ELO back on track, didn't quite work. And then 2015, there was an album, and then 2019, much to the surprise of everyone, another album. So ELO's had 14 albums in all. Of course, ELO became Jeff Lynne's ELO. There's been a few names ever since. Now, I've already done ELO, so feel free to look up my E's in my playlist for that. So, but after ELO, now Jeff had been songwriting, producing, singing, lead guitaring, and everything else that you need to do to be a band leader. And he just had enough, really. He thought, what am I going to do now? Perhaps I'll just do some things for some other people. So he became known for his songwriting, production, absolutely, including some incredible people: George Harrison, Bryan Adams, Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, just to name a few. This is the kind of era that Jeff was in. And so he became quite a sought-after producer, and you could really tell a Jeff Lynne sound. Jeff just has got this sound about him which is just so complete, so overwhelming, and just absolute a pleasure to your ears to listen to. But ever restless, Jeff thought, and just while we look at Jeff's production credits, Roy Orbison's last album, we've got a bit of a documentary of the song Mystery Girl. Now, Mystery Girl was actually written by Bono and The Edge of U2, so they're in there. Of course, Roy Orbison has just got one of the voices, really absolutely stunning. George Harrison's in there, Jeff Lynne's in there, everyone. It's a bit of a documentary about Mystery Girl, and you got it. Now, this album was produced by Jeff Lynne, and so, of course, you're going to get some of his writing production credits in there. George Harrison, Cloud 9 was an album, and so, he was very sought after as a producer. He just had a bit of an edge to his production. Of course, he could sing as well and play lead guitar, so that always got in there. But in 1987, this little thing called the Travelling Wilburys started. Now, it started with George Harrison needing a B-side for one of his songs, but the record company said, hang on a minute, I think Handled with Care is a pretty good song. Why don't you actually do something with it? And George said, well, all right. So apparently the story goes that they got together in Bob Dylan's lounge room into his house, together with George Harrison, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty and Roy Orbison. The Travelling Wilburys were born, and over the next week they not only wrote songs but laid down the vocals for it. Later the album would be produced, which of course is Jeff's Happy Place with George Harrison in George Harrison's studio. So we've got Handle with Care. With the official clip of that one, we've got the 5 of them. Of course, just realised that Roy, George and Tom have all left us, and so it's just a bit of a poignant clip, that one. Live version. Now, the live version includes Dhani Harrison. Now, Dhani, of course, is George's son. Dhani has played with Jeff quite a few times. George Harrison and Jeff Lynne were the best of friends. And because of that, he actually got Dhani Harrison on stage just to a bit of legacy to his dad, George. And so we've got a live version of Handle with Care. Absolutely stunning. I think Tom Petty's in there as well. So that was volume 1. Then we got volume 3, End of the Line. And what's poignant about this particular official clip is there's an empty rocking chair. That was Roy Orbison's chair. So we've got the official clip on that one. Jeff then thought, well, I better try and get out a live album, Armchair Theatre. Didn't go so well. No one really knew who Jeff Lynne was. They knew who he was with ELO, but not on his own. And we got every little thing of that one. We got the official clip of that one. Quite ambitious for Jeff. We've got a little bit more brass and sax happening here. Very, very cool clip, this one. But when you have made as much money over ELO as Jeff actually has, you can afford to be a bit luxurious with what you do. That money well and truly deserved, mind you. In 1994, much to the surprise of the world, and of recent, we've had another Beatles song released, but they found a clip of John Lennon singing to a piano, Free as a Bird, and they said, well, who can we get to do this? Hey, what about that Jeff Lynne guy? I reckon he could give this a go. So they got Jeff involved, and he produced Free as a Bird and Free Love for the Beatles, much to the delight of the world. The story goes it was very, very hard to separate the piano from the vocals. Of course, when you do record an album, everything gets done separately, then you mix it all later, but apparently he worked out a way to do it, and the rest is history. Free as a Bird, a beautiful official clip just showing the Beatles in a bit of a 3-4 minute snapshot. Absolutely stunning. There's some pretty incredible images in there. 2001, this slipped under the radar. It wasn't until I picked up the CD of Secret Messages from 1980, actually Balance of Power from 1986, that this album Zoom. I didn't even know this album existed, and much to my delight, there was a DVD as well. So I got to see Jeff Lynne for the first time live. So his band's changed a little bit. Great to see Richard Tandy in there playing on keyboard here. An ELO, significant ELO sound maker, that is for sure. And from that concert, we got Moment in Paradise, a live version of that one. After 2001, unfortunately, that didn't go so well for Jeff. Now, I personally think that Zoom has got some of his best songs, really. I do like the Zoom album very, very much indeed. It was pretty much a solo album with a few helpers in there. But I do love that album. I love the songwriting. Moment of Paradise is absolutely stunning. His vocal just shows how good a singer Jeff Lynne actually is. He can really carry a tune, absolutely. He's just got one of these easy, comfortable voices. Back to producing for a while, but of songwriting, a few other bits and pieces. In 2012, he released another solo album, Long Wave. Long Wave was just a tip of his hat to many of the songs that he grew up, including Love Is a Many Splendid Thing, She, and a few other songs like that one. We've got the official clip of Mercy, Mercy, and there's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek. The band's called The Jeffs because he's playing drums, playing guitar, rhythm guitar, and bass. So we got official clip of Mercy, Mercy. In 2014, rumour mill started to spread pretty strongly that ELO were about to do something. Now, Jeff was expecting like a dozen people to rock up to this concert, but we ended up having 50,000 people rock up to Hyde Park to see ELO's triumphant return. Now, we can't not do ELO and have a live version of Mr. Blue Sky. It's probably ELO's most well-known song. It got in the London Olympics at one point. And the story goes that Jeff went to a chalet to write the Out of the Blue album, which was the album that Mr. Blue Sky came from. It was cloudy, it was grey, and then one day it all just lifted and Mr. Blue Sky was here. Yes, and this is kind of one of those really, really happy, cheerful kind of songs. And so we've got a live version of Mr. Blue Sky. Just look at the crowd, how excited they are. And then Jeff thought, right, well, perhaps I'd better release an album. So in 2015, out came Alone in the Universe, and I've already played you When I Was a Boy at the start of this video. And then, much to the surprise of everyone, 2019, From Out of Nowhere. I think Jeff, we got a live version of that one, which is pretty cool. He's got a pretty solid band with him now. Quite a few people on stage because ELO is such a big sound. He was quite proud of this one because there's 6 chords as opposed to the normal 4 in chord progression. Absolutely stunning chord progression from Out of Nowhere. We've got a live version of that one. Oh, I just realised 2017 returned to Wembley Stadium. 60,000 fans. So who would have thought when ELO started in 1970, some 47 years later, there would be 60,000 people at Wembley Stadium, which is, of course, one of Jeff's happy places. And to really typify how clever Jeff is as a songwriter and a producer, we got Standing in the Rain, again off the Out of the Blue album, which was a very successful album for ELO. Of course, Standing in the Rain was part of Concerto for a Rainy Day, which had Standing in the Rain at the start and then Mr. Blue Sky at the end. And so 60,000 live versions Standing in the Rain. What more do we need than that? So since 2019, obviously COVID started, and so that kind of threw everything to a bit of a wind. But I think if he could perform, Jeff Lynne still would, absolutely, because of course 2020 marks a 50-year career. It's pretty amazing. And as I've already said, a lot of those albums were very, very massive sellers. 50 million in album sales. It was very, very significant indeed for a band that really pushed the envelope when it came to progressive rock, classic and rock together, as well as he's just been very experimental, producing some of the greatest songs of all time for some of the real greats, really. Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, George Harrison. What more do you want than that? And so, you know, he has been a very significant world in the world of this legacy, this collaborative legacy of thing called music. 2004, if I could read my writing, Golden Medal Award. 2023 Songwriting Hall of Fame. 2014 Honorary Doctorate from Birmingham City University, which is pretty nice to see that one. 2017 ELO were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And here we got Dhani Harrison, of course, George's son, inducting ELO and Jeff into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you want a real good summary of Jeff Lynne's career, there's nothing like Dhani Harrison to do that. Just really captures the mood of the night and what is the absolute deserving of Jeff being inducted. He's also, I just remember, being as a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame as well, so that was very well deserved as well. So again, UK and America. And of course, just to chuck something else in there, we had Xanadu back in 1981. The movie itself was a bit of a, well, what can we say, but Olivia Newton-John were in it. We had, sorry about that, bit of a paper floating down, but it doesn't matter. We had Olivia Newton-John, Gene Kelly, one of his last movie performances, but of course we had the iconic Xanadu as one of Jeff Lynne's #1 hits all over the world, which is another fan favourite, The Fall as well. And so Jeff was involved in a soundtrack, Xanadu, all the way back in 1981. So, absolutely, Jeff, if you're actually watching, you can probably tell I'm an absolute massive fan of your artistry, absolutely. So we've got 15 clips in the description below. That can we say it's Jeff Lynne? We need to have a few. And I've also included my last video from Jason Upton. If you want to recap on him, feel free. Well, if this is your first time to Life Reflections Through Music, or you've come back for another one, it's great to see you all back and here. Next time we're going to get on to the Bare Naked Ladies. Now, you know, not be thinking, you know, what was them again? Well, remember that song from Big Bang Theory? It was them. So I'm going to look at them next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.